How we doing, folks? This is Mike, and I am joined by Mike today. We are coming to you on December 1st, Sunday, at around 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 11:30 Eastern Time. We are getting this pod in before NFL Sunday, after an incredible college football Saturday. We apologize for the lack of episodes as of recent. I did mention that we're going to one a week now, which we will be in a better cadence of and give you our best product. But it's a pleasure to be on with you this morning, Mike. I'm excited about more football to come, and we got a lot of breakdown from yesterday. But first things first, haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I think the schedule's gotten a little tricky with the holidays, but had a nice Thanksgiving. It was incredible sports week.
Hmm.
We have a lot to catch up on, ultimately. It's been a great last few days. College basketball, college football, NFL. It's been nice.
It's
You
been
do
great.
anything special for the holidays?
I sat on the couch a lot. Good like 3 days straight of me literally just on my couch back home. Which I wouldn't have it any other way. I slept for like 14 hours one night. I definitely lost some bets, definitely won some bets, and was pretty unapologetic about my Thanksgiving gambling this year. My mom, she was obviously doing are you making bets again? And like, don't waste all your money. And this year I just took the stance of, you know what, Mom? Yeah, I am gambling. And sometimes I'm really great. Sometimes I'm most of the time really bad. So I think she's just accepting that about my character now. But it was a good Thanksgiving. I had a good time.
Nice.
You and Bob did too, and actually we should start there. And I just have one question for you, Michael. Are the Dallas Cowboys making the playoffs this year?
Already into the big predictions right
Big
off the bat.
win, big win against Drew Lock. I don't know.
Second straight week where I do not have to run.
Yes,
That's my biggest takeaway
huge.
from the win. The defense is firing. They were bad. They figured it out. Once again, my guy, DeMarvion
The
Overshown,
Marvion overshown.
having an incredible breakout year. That pick six was so fucking
Yeah.
cool to go along with first thing when I saw my dad on Thanksgiving morning. Didn't get to see the family till that day. I had to work the day before. And we start talking about the game. And he's like, Mike, I think the Cowboys defense is going to score a touchdown. And I'm like, okay, that's, a little out there. Sure. Throw it. Plus 1,000. DeMarvion Overshown cashes. That was a great way to start the day. To answer your question, no. The Cowboys are not making the playoffs. They still have an incredibly tough schedule. The Panthers are there, but pretty much everyone else is an uphill battle. We are good and playing better, and Cooper Rush is back to his sort of above average,
Right.
can sometimes win some football games for him.
Whoa.
But
Risky.
no, we are
Okay.
not making the
Question.
playoffs.
Cooper Rush or Dak?
I think it's plain and simple. He is the better quarterback. He runs this offense better. He's more of a threat. They have to respect his abilities a lot more than Cooper Rush. I
If you
think
were
he's
starting the franchise tomorrow, which player would you want to start with? You can only choose one. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, or DeMarvion Overshown.
it's crazy that he's in
It's,
the conversation.
he absolutely is. He absolutely is. There's
Uh,
something there.
the answer is Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is special. He had an insane sack on Thursday. He is still not 100% healthy, coming back to form. He's the answer. He's due for Defensive Player of the Year one of these years. If he could have stayed healthy, he could have been there this year. DeMarvion Overshown, though, is his guy. He's been training him. He's been working with him, and they found some gold in the dirt there with a really special jab.
And you don't have to run. You said it best. That's the biggest takeaway from the past two games of the Cowboys. Another takeaway is that they are hurting a good first round draft pick, right? Are they going to be in play for a Travis Hunter? Are they just going to stay put and take Ashton Genty? Are you okay with that? With the holes they have on the roster? These are all things that we can talk about in February when we have nothing else to talk about. But yeah, that's something to, I guess, keep in mind through this whole thing. And I don't know, what do you want as a fan? Do you want them to keep winning?
No, obviously, I want them to keep losing. I think we've got the Panthers win in the bag. Maybe
Mhm.
we steal another one. We're still going to be a top 10 to 15 pick. There's a lot of really bad football teams, and we're better than those teams. So ultimately, I'd love to have a top 5 pick and get a chance at a Travis Hunter. But
Mhm.
we're not a top 5 draft pick caliber team. We're better than that, and that's why we have more wins. And I'm okay with that. Yes, Ashton J&T would be cool. I think that answers a lot of questions. Rico Dowdle has showed some promise, but I still don't really think he's the guy. And they need some O line, some D line, and a running back. So if you get a stud like Ashton Jeanty in the middle of the first round, seems like a surefire kind of guy that's going to be a beast in the
I'd
NFL.
say so.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then there's still the O line and stuff like that. But um, how I want to do the pod today is like, let's talk about maybe 2 or 3 more of these other Thursday and Friday NFL games, and then we're gonna bring in a special guest, a friend of ours who is very prevalent in our gambling discussions, especially when it comes to college football Saturdays. And yesterday was a great day, so we're gonna hit that all. But just to hit these other 2 games, and yeah, Dolphins Packers on Sunday night. Tua storyline, can't throw in the cold. He even had a seemed like one of his teammates came out and was like, "Yeah, Tua can't throw the ball in the cold," so just not good there. And I texted you before that game, Mike, and I was like, I'm actually really intrigued by this Dolphins Packers game, all because of the Dolphins. Because if they win that game, and we actually have a Dolphins fan that's joining us here in a sec, so maybe he can speak to this. But if they win that game, it's a really big game because Tua's can't play in the cold anymore narrative, maybe doesn't go away, but it definitely dies down. If they lose, oh my God, he's like 0-7 in games below 50 degrees, some shit like that. And it's the same shit, and nothing's going to change. And you have these huge question marks again. And guess what? They lost. They didn't really ever keep it close. Just like every playoff game they've had in Kansas City when it's freezing, in Buffalo, right? So Dolphins are dead. They're dead. I'm ready to say they're dead. We can talk about the 7th seed with the AFC because I'm extremely intrigued by it. There's some big games coming down the stretch that will mean a lot. There's, and I'll leave it at that for the Dolphins. And then just know that the Chiefs also won, Michael. I don't know if you saw that. And the Lions also won. And neither of them deserve to win.
No, both teams were not the better team on the field. And the Lions were up the whole game. They were up at halftime. It was a boring game. They were dominating. Sam Laporta coming out of nowhere for 2 touchdowns. And then the Bears defense kind of turned up, and they've been good all year, but they haven't been able to hold up against the best teams, and they did, and they gave their team a chance. And Caleb Williams did another one of his throw for 37 passing yards or something in the first half. Comes out in the second half, looks a whole lot better. Keenan Allen 2 touchdowns. Like, they were figuring it out, and they had the ball with a chance to go down the field and win the game. And Matt Eberflus said that they did everything correct.
And he got
Then Matt
fired.
Eberflus said that he was going to go get ready for next week's game. And then Matt Eberflus got fired
He
because
thought
he fucking sucks.
he's terrible. I
Did you
couldn't
hear the
believe.
press conference?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was unreal.
Incredible. Just, I mean, he looked so dumbfounded on the sideline after whatever the hell just happened. Let me put this into context. They were down 3 points, a minute left. They were at the 20-yard line of Detroit. Caleb Williams, give him some respect. He had 2 huge drives. They started that drive, if I'm not mistaken, at the 1-yard line. They were pinned all the way back. They were required to make a drive. And guess what? They could have scored a touchdown. They could have ended the game. But at the very least, you have 3 points on the board. Well, there was a penalty that happened, and then Caleb took a really bad sack. But then there was still 25 seconds left. You have 1 timeout. And Matty Blues obviously got fired for this, but there was a little weird shit going on that I want to point out. I think Caleb was a big part of the problem because I think he tried changing the play at the line of scrimmage. Matt Eberflus still wasn't going to take a timeout because he needed to stop the clock for the field goal. So, I mean, Caleb, I like that you're commanding the line of scrimmage, but you got to fucking look at the clock, dude. Because by the time he snaps the ball, there was 6 seconds left. You complete maybe a quick pass and you get down with 1 second left, but he throws it towards the end zone. There's zeros on the clock, and they don't even have a chance at a field goal. And then Matt Eberflus looks like an idiot. But Lions get away with one there.
Yeah, I'll defend Caleb Williams there because apparently it took 20 seconds for him to get the play, and then as he was going to snap the ball, knowing he's in hurry up mode, he looked at the clock, saw that there was 7 or 8 seconds left, and then he changed the play because he was like, "Fuck it, this is the last play of the game. We need to throw the ball to the end zone now."
Right.
So in his mind, obviously didn't have enough time to draw up the right play, and would have been hard to get a touchdown there no matter what. But he's like, damn, coach just screwed me over. I don't have time to run this out route or short pass or whatever. Like, we got to go to the end zone. So, yeah, they completely botched that.
And the Raiders did too. This was the 2 of the 4 teams in the NFL that you're like, they can win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs and the Lions, they both won this game, but they both shouldn't have won. The Raiders had a early snap on the last play of the game that the Chiefs recovered a fumble. It was like a false start, and they declined it. And then the crowd and the Raiders were like, "What? We just fucking lost." So just a brutal loss there. And Mike, just to sum up these 2 big games, I want to ask you this, because this is what I see as an Eagles fan. I see that at least one of these teams, maybe both, is very replicative of the 2023 Eagles team that had an 11-1, 10-1 record and just let the wheels fall off. I'm not saying that's going to happen as far as wins and losses with either of these teams. However, I'm under the assumption that one of these teams is fraudulent. And I'm starting to lean towards that it's absolutely the Chiefs. And that if they play a Bengals team and maybe even a Broncos team in a 2-7 matchup in the wild card, I'm not confident in that team to win that game. I'm sorry. And I know you have the refs on your side and whatnot and Patrick Mahomes, but I've seen this happen before. I've seen a team that you want to dedicate their wins off of, yeah, they'll get it done. You know, they're just built that way. I said that about the Eagles last year. And then clearly the wheels are just eventually going to fall off and things aren't all going to go your way. And you need to be a little bit more talented than the teams you're playing with. The Chiefs aren't. They just aren't. So which one of those teams, Mike, do you think could be closer to the 2023 Eagles, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I'm on the more similar side to you that I think it's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I think the Lions, there was this whole dynamic of they haven't won a Thanksgiving game in 10 years and they haven't been this good in a while and whatever. The Lions are a good football team and they are very hard to beat. Not sure what happened in the offense in the second half, but they will figure that out. The Chiefs have the lowest point differential of any team that is 11-1 ever by almost 80 points or something to the next closest team. It's not even close. The problem is they're still 11-1 and they're always in the game. It's never like they're coming back from 21. They're always keeping it close. I really like their defense, actually. It doesn't make sense that they're not that good of a football team and they keep winning. So I think the only team that I'm comfortable taking over the Chiefs right now, and I'm not sure if I could even do it in the moment, would be the Lions in the Super Bowl. I think that could be the team to stop the Chiefs from three-peating. Ultimately, in the AFC, I don't think anybody else is that complete. We've seen the Ravens have bad games. The Steelers have bad games. The Bills have had bad games, although they did beat them. I'm not comfortable to bet against Patrick Mahomes yet. It's not the Chiefs. It's not anybody on the team except for Patrick Mahomes, as we've said in the past. The guy wins football games, and I don't know how. I don't know if there's some higher power or the Taylor Swift black curse or something, but they win football games.
I 2 things there. I don't think the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl this year. I'm ready to just put my foot down and say that. And I don't think it even has to do with the lack of weapons and the weird kind of, games they've had this year, obviously, I look at that offensive line and I don't see above average offensive line in the NFL. And I see teams like the Ravens and the Bills and the Eagles and even the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson that just get to the quarterback and can make it tough on third and long situations. But the Chiefs are in a lot. And I just think that your magic's going to run out a little bit because I just think that's how it goes. And I think I just really believe that there's nothing the Chiefs can do to me this year that I'm like, oh wait, they're back. Oh, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, even get there this year, it's going to be a lot of they got lucky. Oh, the refs had this call, right? And two, why are you bringing up the Lions in a Super Bowl conversation? You want to talk about the other NFC team? We'll talk about it in a sec. But that was
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Eagles? We can get
No.
there. I know you want to throw that in there.
That was stupid. That was stupid. Come on. Big game today. The Eagles play the Ravens in about 4 hours, which is just a monumental NFL game, and I can't wait. But we're going to hit those picks in a bit because I want to go over this college football Saturday. What a Saturday we had. What a season. I mean, this is what you would expect out of the NFL or the college football playoff with the 12 teams, with the expansion. There's just a bunch we want to break down, obviously game by game as well. But to do so, it's a pleasure to introduce to the Why Not Us podcast our good friend, Mr. Jared Weingard. Welcome
Hey
in.
guys,
Welcome.
thanks for having me. Really excited.
Of course, Jared. And just to give the audience members a proper introduction to who you are as a friend, well, me and Mike obviously have gambled and made bets with each other for a long time. And I'd say that, you're usually a part of that conversation. This goes back to the days of us gambling at the fraternity house at the blackjack table. It goes to the days of us going down to 2.5 hour drive to the casino boat. There's a lot of history between the three of us here, and it's, like I said, a pleasure to have you on to break down what we experienced yesterday and the picks for today, Jared.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, and couldn't have asked for a better week. Incredible week of sports, incredible week of betting. And like you said, it's been a long time of us. It's been 5 or 6 years of us betting pretty continuously. We've each had our own little breaks, but it always comes back to the three of us in our little chat.
Yeah, I was going to say, we always have those little breaks. I think you might take the breaks more often than us. There was definitely a break this season, but I think it's safe to say you're back, and the conversation has picked up recently, and the three of us in that group chat has been pretty nonstop this week. It's been a hell of a week of sports.
Yeah, I mean, how could I not be back in this time? It's impossible.
I mean, what a day. Where should we even start? I mean, I'd
love to hit the college basketball a little bit because the NBA just the Knicks are good, but I just can't get super fired up about the NBA early in the season. I am all in on getting sharp in college basketball, and these early season tournaments, the Maui Invitational, the Battle for Atlantis, the Gators played in the one at the ESPN Center at Disney. There were some incredible games. We were on the right side and the wrong side of some of them, but what a start to the week.
I didn't think you were going to start there, but we're more than welcome. College basketball is back. UConn, a couple big losses. They're 5-3 now, so they're gone out of the 2 seed. There seems to have been a lot of upsets, and I guess the only thing I have is that the Florida Gators are undefeated, and we won our little tournament. So how about it?
Yeah, and Jared, still at University of Florida at law school. Have you been able to get out to any of the Gator games?
So I haven't been to a game yet this year. We've had some pretty shitty. Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty shitty games at home this year, but planning. I mean, we got Virginia coming up this week. Might head over there. It's final season, so maybe not till SEC season. But we have some really exciting home games in our SEC slate, and we look good. We look real good.
Yeah, we do.
We got some good players.
I mean, the stud wing, it seems like.
I saw a stat. My only concern right now is I saw a stat where 16th in offensive rebounding, but 250th in defensive rebounding, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I mean, I feel like for a tournament team, you need offensive rebounds and you need people who can make threes and make free throws. And I feel like we have those players. And I think we'll shock some people in the SEC playing, be able to make a run.
Well, the SEC is really intriguing, obviously in football, but also in basketball. It looks like there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a good 9 teams in the SEC that are now ranked out of the top 25, which is a big number. And then you still have teams like Texas that are frisky and LSU, but yeah, there's going to be some juice in the Southeastern Conference in basketball this year.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of the games last week. I love Feast Week. I think it's one of the best, like you said, Mike. And my sister goes to Duke, so she's a Duke fan. So I've been watching a bunch of those games.
Duke?
Yeah, she goes to Duke, so she's a
Didn't know
senior at
that.
Duke. Yeah,
That's
she actually so she's tenting for UNC game that's in February. So she's doing that whole crazy stuff. 10 people need to be in the tent at night. 2 people at all times. It's crazy.
That's kind of cool. You got brought into a blue blood. I also have something similar. My sister goes to Gonzaga right now, so I get to be a Zags fan this year.
Yeah, and so there's a kid on the team he's a grad transfer from Tulane, and my sister played basketball growing up, and she was friends with the girl who went to go play D1 at Tulane, who was friends with this kid who now is at Duke. So my sister's been like hanging out with the Duke basketball team with this kid, Sion James. He's like the 6th man off the bench, but he's like a stud. And she loves every second of it. And I've been watching some Duke games, and they're good. Cooper Flag is unbelievable. They're a little young, but they have some old pieces, and I think they are good. And I think they can make a run as well. Maybe a little biased, but
Kansas.
Yes, Cooper. I think if Cooper Flag, I think if he fixes his end of game turnovers, I think they'll be able to do good. But I've been watching some games, and they look solid. They look solid.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season, they're going to be there. Cooper Flag and that Kneppel guy who, like, in that Kansas game went 0 for 9 from 3. Like, that's not going to happen. Cooper Flag just needs to learn that he can't do a spin move in the paint, and I think he'll figure it out.
Yeah, someone who's not good, though, UConn. They looked horrible. I bet on them, live bet them, triple down. They just couldn't pull it through, and they look bad.
And now the storyline is should Dan Hurley have taken the Lakers job? That's just what people are saying now.
It's weird with them. It doesn't make sense because they still have some pieces from last year, and they got that young guy, whatever his name is, who seems like a damn stud, but McNeely.
Yeah.
He's the freshman. He's the 5-star. He looks like a stud, but they're like losing to Memphis, which was weird. I think Memphis is actually decent. They went back the next day and like almost lost to somebody else. Oh, Dayton, they did lose to. They got blown out by. You got Auburn with that ugly ass fucking John Broomy.
That guy
who is like 7-foot stud.
Auburn's
Iowa
good.
State,
they're going to be dangerous.
Tennessee. You've got some weird teams in college basketball. And like Jaws said, the SEC is absolutely loaded. So
I think the reason, too, that you wanted to talk about college basketball is you bet on a lot of college basketball this week. But maybe you guys can agree with me. I think I texted you this, Mike. Like this weekend, and I know the Christmas weekend has something to say for it, is, I think, the biggest gambling week of the year.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, but I think I was going to say earlier, I think this like week is like my second favorite week betting ever, and it's March Madness and
March Madness, yeah.
And then Christmas is like whatever with the bowl games, but like this is like the best. There's games that, I mean, you wake up and there's games at 12 o'clock, and then if you're into soccer, there's Champions League at 11:45, and then Europa League you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday betting soccer all day. You can do anything you want. There's no school, there's no work. Like
there's something about being back at your family home and gambling aggressively on all the games that are going on, and you're just existing next to your parents, and you have $60 on Hawaii money line, which bang, by the way. Let's get into it. I want to start here. College football, what a fucking weekend. We got to break down the whole picture and whatnot. But I mean, to start, I think this was one of the best games I've ever watched. It was the Georgia Tech-Georgia game on Friday night. I mean, 8 overtimes. It didn't seem like either team wanted to win the game, and just an excruciating loss by Georgia Tech. You can't lose that game. You just can't. I mean, they're up, 27-6 at one point in like the third quarter, fourth quarter, something like that. So, it ends up going to overtime. It kind of seemed like it was leading that way the whole time, and then they they had plenty of chances to get it done, and it was just an incredible scene. I think it was kind of the set up the rest of the Saturday, given it was kind of late at night on a Friday. But Georgia, it seems, are going to squeak in. And man, I mean, we already have a lot of questions about what teams get in now because of Miami losing, of even Ohio State, where's Indiana? So, but if Georgia had lost this, I mean, holy crap, that makes that conversation even crazier. They don't. It sets up for a Texas SEC championship game. But yeah, that was a crazy start to the weekend.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that game. I watched the whole thing. My roommate was the backup quarterback at Georgia Tech, so I've been watching a lot of Georgia Tech football this year.
Can we get him on? Let's get him on the pod.
He's awesome. Law school, didn't play at all. His only highlight is in the white and yellow game, whatever their preseason game is. But great quarterback, play intramurals with him. It's like a whole different ballgame playing with someone who knows how to throw the football. But anyway, I don't understand. Well, I have a couple of things. First, Georgia got bailed out with the non-targeting call on the fumble from Haynes King. Guy clearly led with his crown of his helmet. Not complaining. I have a future on Georgia, so I'm all for it. But what I don't understand is why Georgia Tech went away from running all over them in overtime. They ran all over them in the regular time of the game, and Haynes King is a dog, and he was running some zone reads that looked Cam Newton-esque, and I don't know why they went away from it and try to get cute in overtime. And when they needed to make a stop, they couldn't, and when they needed to score, they couldn't. And I thought Georgia lost the game 4 separate times, and they found a way to win. And like you said, I don't know who's going to win this college football playoff. I have a future on Georgia. Like you said, who's with Miami loss, I have a future on Alabama. They might even get in. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But, I mean, how this Georgia team seems like they're never out of the game. Even the Alabama game that they lost, they came back. I still like my Georgia future. I do, to be honest. Carson Beck is bad, but they're always in the games.
I mean, I think Texas is the best team in the nation. I think they solidified that last night. They're my future to win the college football playoff, and their one loss is to a Georgia team that, by the way, really dominated them that game. Their front seven got after them, and I think that's the kind of the key against Texas is your big boys kind of have to match because their big boys were just better than A&M's last night, and it just never became a game really. And Texas has this like pro style offense that, man, it just seems like they can beat you in all these different ways. And I think the way to mask that is with a good front seven. I thought Ohio State had a front seven that was going to be able to compete with that. I don't think so anymore after, holy shit, losing to Michigan in the shoe. Is there any fan base that's more down bad than Ohio State fans this year? And guess what? They're still going to the playoff, right? But it's kind of funny to see their fans just be like, we don't care anymore. That's how much that beating Michigan means, and they didn't do that.
I love how open it is. Like there's no clear best teams. Even when in the past, like the 4-team playoff, like there was sort of 1 or 2 of those teams that you knew weren't going to win. You could almost predict the first round and you knew who was going to be in the championship. And this year is the complete opposite. You're going to see 12 teams get in. I think the BYU, Iowa State, whoever wins that game, I don't think they have enough juice to win. Obviously, the Boise State, it's going to be hard for them or whoever the rest of 5 team is that gets in. But anybody else can go and win this thing. I mean, Oregon's looked good. They're undefeated. They won the close Ohio State game at home. But maybe if they're not at home, who knows? Georgia, like Jared said, I agree. That's the thing for me with them is they're just somehow always in the game. The Alabama game, they came back. The Texas game, they dominated. The other games that they've looked like, even the Florida game, I think they probably lose that if Lagway's healthy for 4 quarters. But like even with Lagway healthy, they're just lingering around and they're still in the game. So you can't put it past them. I think South Carolina's frisky if they get in. Their quarterback is fucking talented. Like
they might just get in, and I guess Alabama could also get in.
Anybody, it's so crazy, and it's anybody's thing. I liked Texas all season. I had questions after the Georgia game. I think they totally could have lost yesterday. I don't know if there was something about Kyle Field at night, but they had that blocked punt, and then they get stuffed on the goal line. Texas A&M does. They easily could have scored. I don't think they're that good, and I don't think they ever were. But it's truly anybody's ball game.
It is.
Yeah, I'm going from a straight like betting odds perspective. I like Texas. I do think they could win. I like Oregon, but their value is not there for me. I got Georgia at plus 475, plus 500 last week, and I feel as good about it as I did. I feel better about it now than I did before. I think there's some sneaky teams that if they get a good draw could do some damage. I mean, if you're Penn State, you're going to be, Penn State's going to be 3 or 2 or 3 or 2, and they're going to be 3 in these rankings. They lose to Oregon, they're going to be the 5 seed. They're going to get Arizona State or whoever at home, and then they're going to get Boise State the next game, and they're in the semifinals. And,
Dude,
or if that's Notre Dame or Penn State, whoever it is, that 5 seed is the best.
Mike has mentioned that a lot of times this season.
I texted Jaws about that recently, and I was like, that 5 seed is arguably better than the 4 seed, I think.
I think 5 seed's better than all the seeds.
Well, Penn State gets it too, but like kind of this year maybe, but kind of every year. Like, isn't that really Notre Dame's kind of seed to lose? Like, isn't that kind of the Notre Dame playoff spot, which, like you said, is a pretty good position to be in?
But I do think if Penn State loses, and I've been watching a lot of Penn State also. One of my best friends from law school here went to Penn State for undergrad, so I've been watching a lot of that. But if they lose, I don't know how, and everything else stays the same.
So Texas, Oregon. If Oregon,
I don't know how. Right, one of those guys, maybe Texas, if Georgia wins, is going to be that 5 seed, and that is the best spot. I mean, if you're the 1 seed, if you're Oregon and you beat Penn State, and then you got to play Georgia if they lose as a 9 seed, or like Ohio State again as an 8 seed, like that sucks.
Yeah, that does.
And
suck.
that second game isn't a home game, and they'll get Penn State or whoever that 5 seed is will get the juice from that home game in that first round. Play Arizona State probably, who looks good, but I don't think they could win a game. And then they get Boise State, who I also don't think could win a game. Then you're in the semifinals. Anything could happen.
I think Penn State could win it this year. I think there's also an argument to be had about Notre Dame. And I think kind of your favorites is lining up to be Oregon, Texas, probably Georgia too. Maybe other people don't think that, but I'd consider them like a team that could definitely win it all.
Yeah, there's some decent value, I think, with, again, and they'll change within the next week and a half. But last I saw, Penn State and Notre Dame are both plus 1,000.
I don't hate that. I don't hate the
that
Penn State way, because I think
considered taking Penn State 22-1 last week, and I couldn't pull the trigger, and I'm kicking myself for it. But I don't hate. I mean, if you want to take a long shot, I don't hate that. I don't hate Tennessee at 20-1 or whatever they're at. I think anyone could win. I think if you get a good draw, anyone could win.
That's how I want to operate. I want to operate under the assumption that anyone could win. I'm trying to like kind of dial in on who the real favorites are. But yeah, let's assume that this was the whole point of the 12-team playoff, is that there's not,
I love it,
4 good teams that are just above the rest, and that there's really like, a good 12 that can make it. And let's also hope that they get it right as far as putting the best teams in, because like I said, it's going to be, let's break it down. We can obviously go game by game on some of this too. I'd love to talk about like this Miami game, and then obviously Michigan, Ohio State as well. But there's 4 Big Ten teams. It seems like there's Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State.
Locked. I think they're all locked.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think it's even a lot about Ohio State and Indiana being bad. I just think it's like, there's a lot of SEC teams in like Miami that drop the ball and are going to be out. So you kind of just have to go with those guys. So if it's 4 teams there, and it's 3 teams at least with the SEC, with Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, so that's 7. You throw in an ACC and you throw in a Big 12. Neither of those conferences getting 2. Now you're at 9.
Notre Dame 10.
You got to go to Notre Dame 10. You got to go Boise State 11. And then you have one more spot. And I think that's kind of what it's lining up to be. And that one more spot, let me know if I missed a team here. Is it between the likes of your Alabama? Is it between the likes of your South Carolina? Is it between the likes of your Miami? Do you still want to throw them in there? Right? Who am I missing? Because that's kind of what I'm seeing it coming down to.
So what I've seen is And again, it all comes down to this next week. And I think the only game that could have some damage here in these little rankings is the ACC
I
championship.
agree.
If Clemson wins, do they keep SMU out? Maybe it's like a me thing. I don't know if I just can't get myself around the fact that SMU is potentially good.
I haven't watched of their football games.
I like Clemson. I bet South Carolina yesterday. I know you're on Clemson in your future parlay, but they just they can't pull out the games. You called the Cade Klubnik pick before it even happened, before the drive even started.
They suck. They're terrible. But
listen,
you said it best. I have a future that I said at the beginning of the season on this pod. It was Notre Dame, Texas, and Clemson to make the playoff, and I thought Clemson was dead after that South Carolina game. And then I slowly but surely realized they're going to be in the ACC championship game, and they could get in with 3 losses. I guess you could keep them out technically, right? And put like a Tulane above in that 12 seed versus an ACC, right?
Tulane lost. They lost this week, no? To Memphis on Thursday night.
Okay,
if they won that game, that would be a really interesting scenario. Do they put in a Tulane conference champion over a Clemson 3-loss conference champion? I don't know. But I think if everything goes as planned, I assume SMU will probably be a favorite. I don't know if the early line came out yet. My guess it's probably SMU by 2.5, 3.5.
Wow, 2.5, nailed it.
Yeah. And if Clemson wins that game, it's going to come. This is what's going to happen. Clemson's going to win that game. They're probably going to put in Alabama over SMU, and it's going to be this whole thing. SECPN. It's going to be this whole thing again, and Alabama's going to go win their games, and they're going to make the semifinal like they always do. I would rather not see that because SEC is the best conference in football. Historically, I do think adding these extra teams in all these conferences are doing some bad for some of these conferences because you have 3-loss SEC teams, but they're all competing. If SMU wins that game, I think there's no scenario where you could put over Bama or South Carolina. Looked horrible. They've been horrible. They've squeaked past games, and I was all over Syracuse yesterday.
Oh, you were. I mean,
all over Syracuse.
That was terrible. Mike, did you have anything to add here? Because I want to take this somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm just looking, and it's just so interesting. Like they've made it very apparent that they don't want a 3-loss team to make it. And they've made that very clear based on the rankings. And it's unfortunate for the SEC because the SEC's 3-loss teams, your Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, I don't think is that great, or Missouri. But those top 3, those are better football teams than SMU, Miami, Clemson, Arizona State, teams with 1 or 2 losses. But the committee has made it very apparent that they're rewarding teams for winning games. That's where I think it gets interesting. And I think what they would do is throw Alabama in there, and it would cause this fucking nutcase of a riot from everybody else. In that case, I would question the committee on their motives because they've made it clear they don't want that. But at the end of the day, that Alabama team probably is one of the top 12 teams in the country. So
here's the last thing I'll say because I know you want to move on. I think if you put in, and this is the argument every year, if you put in Alabama, South Carolina, who might be playing the best football in the country besides Oregon maybe, and even Ole Miss on a neutral field against SMU or UM, they're going to be favored by 8 or 9 points.
And that's where I wanted to take this because we haven't hopped on the pod in a good week or two, Mike. The big thing I wanted to break down was this SEC 3-loss teams conference realignment. Because I'll go and I'll watch like Colin Cowherd and he's talking. He's like, "Oh, Ole Miss clearly can't get in. They lost to the Gators." And I'm like, well, if you watched college football this year, you would know that the SEC is a good 8 or 9 teams deep of just talent of good football teams, right? And that equals the 3 losses, not to mention Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference, right? And so it's almost funny how this has become a thing, right? Because with the 4-team playoff, there was a good 1 or 2 SEC teams to make it each time, right? You just had to, right? But now you're getting to the 12 team, and it's like, all right, yeah, obviously 2 or 3 SEC teams are going to get in. but you're putting 4 Big Ten teams over them, even though the Big Ten is clearly, and I don't want to hear a fucking argument, better than the SEC. It's not even close. And sure, you're still keeping one of the ACC and Big 12, but then, like you said, Jared, you still have an argument about does SMU get in over an Alabama? And I just don't think that's fair. I think the SEC is just so loaded with talent. I think, yes, there is a drop off of maybe like that 1 or 2 juggernaut program you'd see with Saban in the conference. But all it's done is even the playing field for the Florida Gators of the world, for the Ole Misses and even the fucking South Carolinas of the world, right? So that's just what I've seen. And I hope it's not this common trend of like, if you lose 3 games in the SEC, you automatically don't make it. Because I think in the future years, we're going to see a lot of good 3-team SEC, 3-loss SEC teams. And I think the Florida Gators, and I'm already going to preface this, are going to be one of those teams next year. I think we're going to be a good team, and it's probably with our schedule going to line up to be 3 losses, right? And like, where do you put us when it comes to that?
Yeah, the schedule's tough next year. I looked yesterday. It's still tough, but again, we have Ole Miss on the road, but they're losing Jackson Dart. We got LSU on the road, always tough. Hopefully, it's not a night game. We have on the road, but they're losing Cam Ward. Who knows what they're going to be? I think and Lagway has been playing incredible. I think I hope that they appreciate the SEC, that the committee appreciates SEC 3-loss teams. I think, like I said, that against most of these teams, they would be favored. I would even argue that Alabama and maybe even probably not South Carolina, but Alabama would be favored against Penn State in a neutral field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think maybe they would only not be favored to Oregon, maybe, and that's it, and Georgia. But I don't know how you could hold Alabama out. And I don't know if I'm in the committee. Again, I grew up an SEC fan. I love the SEC. I root for the SEC if the Gators aren't there. But the point of this conference alignment, we had some awesome games this year. We had Texas, Georgia. We had Georgia, Alabama. We had Gators, Ole Miss. UF, LSU. We're having these games that are creating crazy revenue for the SEC and for whoever's broadcasting them. They're awesome games, and that's just what the SEC is. It's providing good football and good competitive football, and we're the best conference by far. And we deserve to have those 3-loss teams over a 2-loss SMU or whatever they're going to be, or a UM for sure should not even be close to this 12 seed. So
right. I think the thing that you look really at people off just real quick, Mike, is if Clemson wins the ACC championship, they get in as like the 12, maybe even the 4, but then South Carolina, who literally just beat them, doesn't get in. And their 3 losses. I think that'll make a lot of people mad. But what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know what the correct way to figure this thing out is, and I'm very happy that I'm not on that committee because I don't know what they're supposed to do. But the SEC, it's very difficult to win on the road against literally anybody. And I think the thing that's hurting Alabama is that their losses were to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, aside from the Tennessee loss in Tennessee. But I also think, like, how bad are losses to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt? Like, every single away game you play in the SEC is an incredibly tough game. And you look at the ACC at Miami or Clemson, and you look at the Big Ten of especially like Ohio State or even really Oregon, who like are good, but nobody's talking about. Like, they have 2 to 3 games a year, and that's all they have to do is only lose 1 out of 2 to 3 games a year. Literally, the other games are not even competitive. The spread is double digits every single week. The SEC, you don't get that. You don't get those easy games. And when you throw in that teams are still playing 1 or 2 decent out-of-conference games, like, it's so much harder. And I don't know how you determine that, but it would be unfortunate to see that extra spot not go to an SEC 3-loss team and favor a 1-loss or 2-loss team that beat nobody.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more moving forward because it is definitely going to be interesting, especially if Clemson wins that ACC championship game, which
and we'll see a lot on Tuesday with the rankings, but everything's going to change with this weekend's. Really the only game is the Clemson game. That's going to change much, unless Boise State loses. Then like I don't think you can keep them in at all.
The Big 12 championship is Arizona State, Iowa State. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, I texted earlier. It's pretty funny. Big 10, Big 12, SEC, ACC, the Power Four now, even though the Big 12 is borderline not in that conversation. All four of them, new conferences, added teams. One of the new additions has made it into the conference championship game. Everyone was nervous about Texas and Oklahoma having to play the big boys of the SEC. Everyone was nervous about the Pac-12 West Coast teams hopping into the Big 10 and Big 12 and ACC, and they're really having no problem. I think it's been an interesting year, but it's been another cool thing to see. Those teams are adjusting quickly to their new homes.
Last thing I'll say about this 12-team playoff, I think it's exactly what they wanted. I think it's awesome.
Yes.
I think it's awesome. I think there's great value on the betting side of stuff. It gives us a couple extra games. There's going to be schools that are getting home games, which is going to be electric. And there's going to be some issues with these 16-team SEC conferences without divisions where you're kind of playing whoever, and you can get screwed with a schedule like the Gators or whoever. But I think this college football season was exactly what they wanted. It was incredible, and it's not even close to done. And I think there's going to be some incredible games coming up this weekend or next weekend, and going into bowl season.
I didn't have much else on the specific games themselves. I'll just touch on it because it needs to be talked about more. Will Howard's terrible.
Horrible.
Awful. And I find it so easy to root against him for some reason, but they didn't score a point in the second half. They were 23-point underdogs. They're still going to make the playoff, and I think I'm okay with betting against them that first week just because of the vibes. Even if they play an SMU of the world and it's a 14-point spread, give me the spread. I just don't. It's a monumental loss for Ohio State, and people forget that Ohio State beat Michigan every year under Urban Meyer. They were something crazy, 13-2 in the century or some shit like that. And now there are seniors that are graduating from Ohio State and players that are going to graduate without beating Michigan, which is just blows my mind. And this was the year. I mean, they didn't have their two best players playing. They obviously didn't have Jim Harbaugh playing. They don't have a fucking quarterback that can throw the ball. And it was 13-10 in the shoe. It's just a monumental loss. It's unreal.
It was ugly. I watched almost the entire game when I shouldn't have been. I should have been studying, but it was one of the I had to turn it off. It was horrible. Every time I saw Ohio State driving, Will Howard interception.
Right.
Next play, Michigan interception, missed field goal.
Well, I mean, what do we pick on the fucking 5-yard line?
I could have made that throw.
10. The guy was wide open.
I could have made that
wide open. He threw right to him, and I said, "All right, if you're not scoring there, you're not winning this game." And they still won.
Ohio State looked bad. And what I was thinking and what I would love is and I've seen some predictions to get UF in a bowl game against Michigan and beat the piss out of them.
Yes.
Just so we could have that. I hope they give us something good in the state of Florida. I've been seeing some Gasparilla Bowl, maybe some, seen Birmingham, I've seen Music City, but if it's Gasparilla Bowl, I'm going. I think it'd be great, and I think that they usually have these 1 or 2 bowl games a year with teams that are historically good but had off seasons, right, where you have the UF against Michigan, you have that type of game.
They put us in that with Michigan 5 years ago against the Orange Bowl, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think that was the Felipe Franks days.
Right. I know. I'd if Clemson lost the ACC championship, if we played them in a bowl game. But I do think it could be the USF or even a Syracuse. In which case, just beat
Syracuse would be fun, honestly. Maybe they'll give us
a good one. We deserve a big name program.
For sure.
Maybe it's even. I vote for Boulder. I want to play the Buffs in a bowl game.
I would love that. That would be great.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about this Ohio State Michigan game is it's crazy for me to think I can't even imagine going 4 years against your rival and not beating them. Even we beat Georgia in one of our 4 years that we were here. Granted, it was a COVID year, but we beat Georgia in one of I can't imagine these players who, according to the broadcast yesterday, came back in order to beat Michigan, and then they throw a shitter and couldn't do anything.
Just didn't do anything. I mean, they weren't trying to throw the ball; they were trying to run it, and it just wasn't happening. And once
So
again,
bad.
I think this game was won by Michigan because their big boys were bigger big boys. I mean
Yeah,
that.
and I didn't realize till yesterday that Chip Kelly, I mean, the downfall of Chip Kelly needs to be studied. He's now the offensive coordinator at Ohio State
That's
and
news to me. I had no idea.
probably won't be in a few weeks if they want to make their program good again. But yeah, the guy runs these high-powered offenses, or at least used to, and it was very obvious that Michigan had no secondary, and Ohio State may have the best receiving class core in college football, and they wouldn't stop running the ball up the middle. And it's like you have Jeremiah Smith and you have Emike Ibuka or whatever his name is. Like those guys are studs. Those guys are first round draft picks, and Michigan's missing. I think their top 2 or 3 corners. Wouldn't throw the ball. Chip Kelly, just ruining another team.
Just throw it.
I've lost hope on Ohio State, but if people still have hope on them, I'm sure their odds to win the national championship are probably good now. They're probably plus 650, plus 700. If
It's,
you thought they had a down game and just like Ryan Day can't beat Michigan, then that's not
they
horrible.
have better odds than Georgia. I mean,
Still,
they have the third best odds still. It's unreal. It's
that's unbelievable to me. I don't know how anyone could bet that,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
and I have my pick for who I think's winning, and I want to ask you guys too. But yeah, it seems like there's really one spot up for grabs because one of the Big 12, one of the ACC teams will get in, and then it's really Bama, South Carolina. I think they're going to put one more SEC team in there. I really do. I think it's 4 SEC teams, 4 Big 10
I
teams,
agree.
and I think that's how it should be.
All right,
Yeah,
before I forget to do this, remind me next year when I'm making my Heisman bets and I'm talking to you guys about my Heisman bet. Remind me to bet on Lagway. Obviously, you're going to do it. And remind me about the Sellers guy from South Carolina. That dude is incredible.
Yeah, he's
And I
good.
haven't seen him. I've heard about him. I've seen some highlights, but I watched that game in the fourth quarter yesterday. This dude is unbelievable. If he like learns how to throw the ball just like a little bit, he's gonna be unstoppable.
I say we bet on a Florida South Carolina SEC championship next year.
Dude, I mean, I think this kid is unreal. I think
Yeah.
I saw him run. He's like 6'3", 250, like a South Carolina dude through and through. Like just looks like a football dude, and he is incredible to watch.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, that last touchdown on what was it, like 3rd and 15 or
3rd and
something
16
in
or
the
something,
red
yeah.
zone, and
rip
he
feature.
scrambles throughout the pocket, gets outside, beats some linebackers in the secondary. I mean, he ran 16 times for 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very modest day throwing the ball. So yeah, like you said, if he can figure out how to throw the ball a little bit, but like, I don't know how a college defense stops a guy like that. He's special.
Can't.
Mike, did you want to talk about the Heisman talk you've ran into this weekend?
Yeah, so this started like 2 or 3 weeks ago before the Cowboys beat the Commanders, and I thought, all right, we're going to lose to the Commanders. We might beat the Giants and the Panthers, but every other game on our schedule is a loss. So obviously it's not how it went. But if we had 3 wins. If the only other 2 games we won were the Giants and the Panthers, we have 5 wins. We're 5-12. We're definitely a top 10 pick, creeping up on a top 5 pick. And I'm like, let's try and lose those games too. Let's go out and get Travis Hunter. He's the best non-quarterback in the draft class. He is one of the most special NFL prospects that we have ever seen. Who knows if he's going to play on both sides, if he's going to be a receiver, if he's going to be a corner. All I know is, we've talked about this, Jaws, when he steps on the field, whether it's on offense or defense, he is the best player on the field. And so I threw that in our fantasy football group chat. And Michael Higgins and Jake Siegel and Orr, who was a little confused because he thought I was saying that I wanted Travis Hunter to win the Heisman. He's a Gene T. Heisman guy. Higgins and Siegel are like, this guy, Mike, is delusional. Why would you want Travis Hunter? They went as far to say they compared him to saying he's maybe as good as Jabril Peppers and he'll look like that in the NFL, and that he's very average at 2 positions, and that the only reason why anybody's talking about him is because he plays both sides of the ball, but he's not elite at either one. And that is just absurd to me.
I just don't get it, because if you watch a snap of a Colorado football game, whether you're in person or on your fucking television, like, how do you not look at the screen and say, okay, the best player on the football field is number 12, and it doesn't matter what side of the football field it is. He's the best player every time. So I don't care about the stats as far as he's the best in the country at this position, because, well, especially with corner, like, they're not throwing to him. And, you know, his stats are extremely productive as a wide receiver. Like, what more do you want? But I think it's just as simple as, Mike, and this makes me just infuriating that people could have this take, because all it takes, like I said, is to watch the fucking football game and see that number 12 is the best on the field at any given moment. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I was with Higgins and Siegel preseason. I was like, this Travis Hunter guy, he talks too much. He can't be good at both. I went to go to UCF. I went to the UCF Colorado game. I saw this dude in person. He's special. He is special. I think there's value on him as first overall plus 300 or whatever. I'm still not a Shador guy. I don't know. Maybe it's still something about his talking. I think they both talk too much. I think it might be an issue in a locker room. I think they have to grow up a little bit, but I see that Shador is good. I know he's good. I don't know if he's first overall good. He has the arm talent. It comes with a lot of baggage, though. He's already talking about, Deion's already talking about, holding out against some teams that they drafted and pulling whoever did that, Eli Manning or Philip, one of the two of them. He looks good, but a team's gonna have to take a risk on, do you want that type of guy in your locker room? But I do think there's value in Travis Hunter to go first overall plus 300 or whatever it is. I think what Genty is doing is unbelievable. I was a full Genty guy to win the Heisman until I went to go see Travis Hunter in person. And, the things that he's doing on both sides of the ball is unbelievable. Like you said, like, every play on offense is to him, and every play on defense is away from him. And I think that says something about a guy.
He's the best player on the field at any given moment. And I think Ashton Genty has had one of the best seasons ever. And it's a little bit sad, but like it's as simple as what he's doing is the greatest thing we've seen before. What Travis Hunter is doing is the greatest thing we've seen that we haven't seen before. It's really
well said. Yeah, and I texted them all after the Friday game where Colorado whooped up on a bad Oklahoma State team, 52-0. Obviously, Oklahoma State is bad, but Travis Hunter, 10 receptions, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. I mean, what more can you say about the guy?
What more can you say? We should be good, Jared. Yeah, you're back in.
Oh!
I don't know what's going on.
What was that? Do I get something cool if I put a thumbs up?
I like that. It was like bubbles and stuff. That was
pretty cool.
Yeah, that was
cool. Travis Hunter, you rock. Shador, I'm in on you, but I agree, a lot of baggage. We pretty much hit everything in college football. There were some other incredible games. We were on the right side of a lot of them. I had a great Saturday betting wise. I hope you both did as well.
I big parlay with the overs and Bama spread, and then I told you, I don't know, Mike, did you do it too? I hooked on Hawaii money line. It was the last time of the year, whether you were down money or up money, that you can split your difference on Hawaii money line, and they won in plus money. So what a great way to end the year. That's exactly what Vegas wanted to do, to bring us back next year, and we'll fucking be there for sure.
Do you want to briefly talk about the FSU game?
We can, and then I just want to hear who you guys' final pick is to win the playoff, and then let's move it to NFL picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we looked a little bit sloppy. I think Lagway missed some throws, but the fact that we, forced 8 fumbles and recovered 5 of them or whatever it was is unbelievable. Our defense has been playing incredible. I was at the game last week at Ole Miss, or here against Ole Miss. I was at the game before at LSU, and it feels like there's something different with this team. And I know you guys have talked about it in the last couple of weeks, but this team has really rallied around Lagway, really rallied around Napier, and our defense is playing the best I've seen in 6 years, honestly. And it was special to be in the swamp. And the thing about it is, and I think the team rallied around the fans. And we still were selling out when we were, calling for Napier's head. We were still doing 2 bits before the game, lights off, doing Won't Back Down, doing We Are the Boys, and singing the alma mater after the game. And I think the team saw that like the fans are still in it, so we're going to be in it for the fans and for Billy, and they really turned something around. I think we see it with these recruits that are flipping from FSU or wherever. I mean, we've gotten like 15 recruits in the past week. Like,
right.
We're building something back here, which we know to be the standard of Gator football. And I think we ended really strong. And I think I think it's going to say something when our players don't back out of the bowl game, and we're going to go win a bowl game. And our schedule next year, it looks tough on the surface, but some of these other teams are losing some really important players. And I think we could, if we, like you said, if we could, all we have to do is beat a UGA or Tennessee and Texas, go 1-3 in those games, and don't lose anything stupid, which I think we did a good job this year of not losing a stupid game like we usually do, lose to like a Kentucky or Missouri. If we could do our job next year, like there's Lagway is special, and our defense, if they're playing remotely close to what they're doing right now, we're gonna be probably preseason top 25 team, and we're gonna do some damage. I think.
I agree.
Yeah. I think there was 2 major takeaways for me from the second half of the season. The way that the team didn't crumble and just give up, which is something that clearly Florida State on the other side of things just completely gave up. They lost their quarterback. They lost a lot of pieces. I mean, they were a sorry football team yesterday. The turnovers, the quarterback, obviously he's not their top guy, but their defense was Swiss cheese. They couldn't guard anybody in the secondary. It almost was unfair. Like, it felt like they were in another class of football, and there was never a moment where I thought we were going to win. And that was really awesome to dominate them. And I think you just don't see that a lot out of a college football program. I don't see you see these young guys that lose games early in the season and know that the season's really over. You're playing for pride now. And they still are all in on Napier. Whatever Napier's doing with the players, I'll give him credit. They love him. He needs to hire an offensive coordinator because he doesn't know how to call an offense. But the players love him. Most importantly, DJ Lagway loves him. And whatever we do to keep Lagway, that was always my goal for the year. My goals for the year were go 500 if you can and keep DJ Lagway. Don't let him transfer. Mm-hmm. And they did both of those. And like you said, Jared, they didn't lose any bad games. They lost some tough games early in the season. They fought back. I think the expectation is not unreasonable to say they should be competing for the playoff next year. And we haven't said that since Kyle Trask, and it's very exciting that
if they win that Tennessee game, which they should have, and if Lagway doesn't get hurt in that Georgia game, and they win those 2 games, they are absolutely
of course.
Now, which is just crazy to think about because those 2 things really should have happened. But at the very least, I think you guys said it best. It's just incredible vibes out of Gainesville, Florida to end the year, which is just what you wanted. And I think they're going to present themselves again as a premier staple city, college town for college football. Obviously, college basketball is a big part of this, baseball. So Gainesville, Florida, the vibes are huge.
Vibes are great over here.
And I'm glad they weighted down with Billy because this is what happens. And one thing that we can't forget is that Dan Mullen gutted this program, right? So he needed these 3 years, right? And I have a lot of respect for Billy Napier, the way he's been able to handle this adversity. And then I just hope this like comfortable Billy Napier we see with the he has a comfortable job now, it seems like. I hope that really produces some consistent results, which it seems like it will with kind of what he's done in the recruiting portal. So I'm a happy Florida Gator, man.
I'll say a couple quick things because I know we have to get into NFL, but I've been saying this. I said this after the Ole Miss game. I think the LSU game and the Ole Miss game were the 2 biggest games we've had. 2 biggest wins that we've had some big wins in the past couple of years, but they're the 2 biggest wins back to back that we've had in a long time. The recruits were there. We're flipping guys. They're seeing the swamp under the lights for the LSU game.
Yes.
They're coming back for an official visit the next week. We flipped some good players, and I think it was extremely important. Great momentum going into next year. Hopefully, our players won't back out of the bowl game and we'll win. Second thing I'll say, FSU is horrible. They are really bad. I don't know what they're going to do. I think it helps a little bit that Gus Malzahn is coming to be an offensive coordinator. Maybe they'll get some UCF transfers. There was little 2 and 3 stars from shitty schools in Miami and Orlando, but maybe they'll get a little bit of help from that. But DJU is horrible. I don't think he's hurt, by the way. I think they said we're going to bench you, so if you want to get hurt. Same thing they did with Gus Malzahn, saying we're going to fire you, so if you want to leave on your own. They're really bad. This Luke Cronenwek guy who was in the Elite 11 looks awful.
Right. Like we got our freshman QB is just miles ahead of their freshman QB. Like it's not even the team right now. It's like our recruits are better too.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. They're in a horrible spot, and I love every second of it.
Horrible. And Miami is up in the air too. I mean, if you're not going to make the playoff, this is a cool thing, right? It's like FSU had their big year last year, Miami had their big year this year, and neither of them are going to make the playoff, right?
Yep.
And that's good as a Florida Gator fan. One last thing I'll say about college football, and then I want your picks, and let's go to the NFL, is yesterday was like the day in history of the flag plant. Like that was the theme of yesterday. It happened obviously in the Michigan-Ohio State game, and then there was the big scuffle after that. But then it happened like 3 more times. It happened in like the NC State-UNC game. Florida did it against FSU, which Mike Norvell threw a hissy fit about. And then there was another game too, but like the ASU-Arizona game. They like put a trident. So this was like a big chain reaction, and I think we'll look back on this day as like the flag planting day.
Yeah, I think next year in these rivalries, there's going to be some Georgia score a touchdown type, everyone come on the field, we hate each other rivalry, and I think it was great for college football. I love that Michigan did it. I didn't love that UF did it as 19-point favorites or whatever we were, but then I remembered that they rushed the field as 19-point favorites 2 years ago at FSU. I was there, and then I remember they took soil out of our whatever they did last year, a piece of our end zone,
just like losers.
And I think we're getting back to an era of like, and hopefully players stay and realize this, but we're getting back to an era of old-fashioned. We hate each other, and there's going to be some fights next year, and it's going to be awesome. And for all those announcers who are saying this is disrespectful, who cares, dude? This is awesome. This is what college football wants. Build the game for next year. It's awesome. I love it every second.
I was going to say the same exact thing. Gus Johnson going on and on about how it's so embarrassing that Michigan is doing this. No, you want a damn game in their house. Plant your damn flag. Do what you want. And if you want to stop them, Ohio State, then win the damn football game. Like,
right. That was like the least of what should happen after a loss like that. So I agree. There's no, that was stupid. But all right, who do you guys have winning it all?
I'm going to stick with Texas.
I'm also going to stick with Texas. I just think I think it deserves to be an SEC team this year. And if I'm going to put my eggs in a basket of an SEC team, it's not going to be Tennessee. It's not going to be Georgia. It's going to be Texas. And I saw a lot of that last night. So I'll take the 4-1.
I'm going to stick with my Georgia pick. I think 4.5 to 1 is good value. I think if you're going for a long shot, I still don't think it's a bad time to get Alabama at 22.5 to 1. If they're going to get in, I mean, you're basically betting, if they get in, they're going to be plus 13, plus 12 or 1,300. So if you think that they're going to get in, so that means if you think SMU probably is going to win the football game, then I think Alabama is going to get in. And I think 22 to 1 is the best you're going to get. And I don't think that's bad value. I think Oregon could win. I think Texas could win. I think Georgia could win. And I think Alabama can win. And that's it, I think. Maybe Penn State if they get a good draw. But I don't know if I trust Penn State's offense enough to beat a good team in the semifinal and the final. I think I trust them to get into the semifinal, but to win, I think it's those 4 teams: Oregon, Texas, Georgia, Bama. That's really it. Especially after watching Will Howard yesterday, he is horrible. But we'll see. And I think there's the odds will shift and there'll be good value after the final rankings. But I'm with Georgia still. So.
And cool. That rounds out our college football. What a weekend. And I'd now like to bring us into our NFL picks for week 13. We are now live on Instagram, and we have some people flooding in already. I'd like to say hi. I got Jared and Jersey Mike on here, guys. Thanks for joining. So we're going to go game by game. Michael Meisner already threw out a thought of Steelers-Bengals. I might actually love to start there. Because I texted you, Mike, that I threw a big banger bet yesterday, and it was 2 teams, a money line parlay, and one of those teams is the Bengals. And Mike, is this because I like the Bengals and I expect them to turn it around and maybe get the 7th seed and play the Chiefs in the first round of the playoffs, or is this because I like betting against the Steelers and losing every single time? I think it's a little bit of both, but I'm a script guy, and I think the script is saying that the Bengals win this game and they fight till the end of the year with the playoffs. So, 11 a.m. game in Cincinnati, and they're actually favorites. And I think similar to what we saw with the Commanders this year, kind of start to take a downslope and just continue on that consistent downslope after a pretty big good start to the year. We're going to see something similar with the Steelers because I'm just not fully convinced. I'd love to hear if you guys are in the same boat, but I'm riding heavy on the Bengals today.
It's a weird game. The Bengals need it. I think this is the nail in the coffin. If they lose, I think their season is officially over if they lose this game, although that 7 seed is still so wide open. I'm not sold on the Steelers, but I think what jumps out to me is a 4-7 team being favored by 3 points at home to an 8-3 team. Ultimately, I can't look away from that. And so I'm on the Bengals.
Bengals.
I would like to take responsibility, I think, for over the years teaching you guys and talking to you guys about lines that don't, teams that shouldn't probably be favored by looking at records that are favored, and I love taking them every week. With that being said, I'm staying off this game on the spread. However, I like the under. We talked about it. It's going to be cold, and this game screams 21-17, 24-21, which is all under, I think it's 46.
It is the divisional under season.
Divisional unders. One pick I do like that I'll give out is T. Higgins over 80 receiving yards at plus 125 on Hard Rock. I think he's a beast, and I think when you have someone as good as Jamar Chase on that team, it kind of brings people. It pushes the Steelers defense to Jamar Chase, and I think T. Higgins will be open, and I think Hard Rock does this cool thing where, I'm sure it's on other sports books. You could kind of bet like 50 yards, 65 yards, 80 yards, 100 yards. And I think at plus 125, that's a pretty good odd. I threw it in the little parlay I made. I think his actual over-under is like 72.5. So you're getting some decent value on 80. And I think that's a good bet.
Hell yeah. So we're all
on
the
Bengals. I'd lean Bengals.
All right. We're all leaning Bengals. Cool. Mike, do you already have your lock of the week? And by the way, for the audience, let's break it down. I'm now 10-2 in my lock of the weeks this year. Mike, you are now 9-3 in your lock of the weeks. I haven't really dialed into which team I want to take this week. I think there's an obvious one, which I have a little bit of trouble.
I've got mine. I've had mine all week. I had mine when last week's slate ended. I am hammering the Buffalo Bills at home to the San Francisco 49ers in a snow game, 6.5 point spread. You can fucking alter that to 26.5 because it is going to be a rampage in Buffalo. The Californians don't know how to play in the cold. Their season is over. Brock Purdy or Allen, I don't care. The 49ers are dead. They are not good. Christian McCaffrey, under rushing yards, no touchdown, picks galore. This is a fucking beat down by the Buffalo Bills, and you're going to lose your lock of the week, and then we're both sitting at 10-3.
Wait, so it's 6.5. You're taking minus 6.5.
Yeah.
I think that line was there even before Brock Purdy was maybe not going to play this game, but he's going to be there. Shout out my boy Brennan, who's on the live. He said Purdy coming for cleanup. He's also an Iowa State alumni, so he's probably a little bit happy. But yeah, Purdy's playing this game, Mike, and you still want to lay a touchdown. Buffalo just blows him out. Niners deathbed.
Brock Purdy's not good at football. I've been saying it all year, and this is the nail in the coffin. 5-7. Goodbye, San Francisco.
That would be it, right? They're 5-7. I think they still have a game against, I believe it's the Lions, Week 17 on like Monday Night Football, right? So it's 5-7 though. I don't think you make that 7 seed in the NFC. And
their division's open, so they could somehow sneak the division. But it seems like at 5-7, Cardinals have a winnable game. Seahawks have a winnable game.
Well, the thing with me is like if the Niners go down and they're 5-7, and this clearly just a collapse of sorts this year. It's like why was everyone so quick to jump on the Eagles collapsing last year, but not on the Niners? Like, were you not NFC favorites this year? I get that you've had your injuries. Guess what? Every NFL team does. And Mike, you and I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I think it's time to have a little bit of a Kyle Shanahan conversation with this Niners team. And I think there's a lot to be said under the lights tonight.
I think Kyle Shanahan's okay. I think this season will be the first season where he finally has to accept that he needs a quarterback better than the person drafted last in the draft. I think he's made it with Brock Purdy. He made it with Sam Darnold when he was injured. Like, he's made it with these low-cost game manager-esque quarterbacks, and flopped with Trey Lance because Trey Lance was trying to do too much. Ultimately, it looks like he kind of sucks. But, like, I think he needs a quarterback that makes over $1 million a year. And if he refuses to accept that and goes back out there with a similar-looking team in Brock Purdy next year, I think they'll be better, but they'll still struggle. And hopefully he realizes, and that organization realizes, that they need a quarterback that's making 7 figures and not 6.
I'll take Buffalo too. I'm way more comfortable laying the points there. But Jared, do you agree?
If this was any other time besides a Sunday Night Football game, I would stay as far away from this spread as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's Sunday Night Football, I'll probably bet it. I think my best pick. It's snowing, Mike.
I think
best pick on the board is Josh Allen anytime touchdown plus 110.
I love it.
Love that.
Squad ride.
I'll probably be on that.
Josh
sure.
Allen.
I might even take 2 touchdowns at plus 550.
I threw in a little parlay this morning. It was 2 touchdowns from a score each game. I had, who was it? It was James Cook as the late game, which I don't love. I think I had let me go check. But Robbie is in the comments. He just said Brock Purdy is a poor man's Chris Gomez. Not buying it.
I've never been a Brock Purdy fan, honestly. I think there was a reason he was the last pick in the draft, and I think he's a very system quarterback. And I think you could put anyone in that team, and they wouldn't like.
Yeah.
I don't think he's good. So, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that are better than him. I think he had a good year because they had a healthy team, and that's it.
It was Bijan 2 touchdowns, AJ Brown 2 touchdowns. We'll get to that game in a sec, and then James Cook 2 touchdowns. So I'll take rushing yards in that game. I love that it's snowy. I hope it's a big snow game.
It is.
Chris Collinsworth is just gonna have a field day. Mike. I mean, what more could you ask for? Okay, cool. So we're all on Buffalo there.
Yeah.
But we don't love it. Jared, I have a question for you. Are you more of a feel guy today, or are you more of a I know the public's going to bet this line, I'm going to take the other side kind of guy today? Because I've been all over.
I think the lines today are interesting. I think the 1:00 games especially are very close. I've always been a against the public guy. I think the lines are relatively, or I think the spread of money is relatively even for most of the games. I haven't seen anything super crazy. I love the 1:00 slate. I love
biggest public favorite is the Texans minus 3.5 in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
and I think I love the Jags.
I love the Jags. I love the Jags today.
Also love the Jags. Considering to make that my lock of the week, it's not.
What do you got?
Once we get into all the rest of do you want me to wait or do you want me to tell it right now?
This one real quick because I have my buddy Brennan in the live. He's asking about this one. He's a big Vikings fan, so let's hit this Vikings game, which has actually been intriguing. It's Cardinals at Vikings. Nice little 1 p.m. slate. A nice little minus 3.5 line for the Vikings. The Cardinals are coming off a snoozer, and I kind of like the Cardinals in this spot because I don't think they have 2 snoozers in a row, and I think the Vikings don't really deserve to have a line that's this big against a winning team. I don't care if it's at home. If anything, I love the over in this game. I actually took that in my parlay already this morning, but I'm laying the points here with the Cardinals. I think they cover this plus 3.5.
I'm proud of you for laying the points the right way.
Thank you.
You've been working on it a lot. I've been noticing that. I'm with you though. I think Cardinals is the play here. I think they're actually a good team. I thought they were going to be good before the year. I know Vikings won 4 in a row, but I think I have here they beat the Bears, Jags, Titans, and Colts their last 4 games. They struggled against the Rams the last time they played a semi-decent team, lost by 10. I think the Cardinals cover the points, and they win outright.
I agree. I'm also on the Cardinals. I think that extra 0.5 there on the line plus 3.5 makes me feel a whole lot better about this game. I think it's a 3-point game either way, and I like getting the points. I like Kyler Murray over Sam Darnold. I don't love either defense, so that's a chalk up. Weapons-wise, they're somewhat similar as well. Obviously, I'd rather have Justin Jefferson than Marvin Harrison, but yeah, I like the Cardinals playing against the Vikings team that is trending in the wrong direction.
Something I do love in this game that I would mention is James Conner anytime touchdown and Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown. If you're on Hard Rock, they're doing a 50% profit boost for Black Friday, so
Ooh,
which is unbelievable.
cheesy.
So I think $50 profit boost for same game parlay. I think, and I love Connor to score here. He didn't score last week, I don't think. And then Justin Jefferson was frustrated last week, and I think they'll get in the win. I think they're both scoring.
I like that a lot, actually. That's good. And then, okay, so Texans at Jaguars. Big, interesting line, right? -3.5, but I see. So I've been really looking this week, too, because there's a lot of injuries this week. There's a lot of teams that are just kind of slowing down. I don't want to take any big line with this Texans team. And I think even if you want to frame it this way, the Jaguars are just getting a little bit more healthier. Is Trevor Lawrence playing today?
Yeah, he's back.
He's playing.
Yeah, so, I mean, guys, we could look really stupid, but I like this game to be close. You can take the under if you want in the divisional under, but I'll just lay the points with the Jaguars here. I think with what you said, Jared, and kind of what I assumed of the public being heavy on the Texans in this spot, it makes me love the Jags. I'm not going to make it in my lock of the week, but I'm really comfortable taking the Jags in this spot, so give me the 3.5.
I'm with that also. I'm not going to make it my lock, but I thought about it, and I think, I don't think the Texans are that good, and I think this is a line that jumps off on the page to me, so I'm going to take it.
Mike, you agree?
I'm on the same wave. We all sort of seem to be agreeing, which is exciting for us to watch football, but I am a little scared.
I think throughout the years we've learned learned how to bet together, and I think we generally have the same mindset mostly when it comes to some of these games that don't make sense, and we all kind of always are all over that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the over in that game.
Yeah,
I think if the Jags are going to cover, they need to score points.
Don't love that we all have the same picks so far.
But, yeah, me neither, but whatever.
Yeah. Hey, maybe it's just our day. I mean, why not us?
Why not?
Why not us?
You really break it down. It's like, okay, cool. Do you guys want to round out this 11 o'clock slate? Chargers at Falcons. It's pretty much a pick 'em, and I'm on the Falcons here. I just think the Falcons win this game. I don't have much else analysis other than I think they might have a little bit more juice on offense, and I think they've had some down weeks, but I kind of expect it to go up a little bit. I expect them to win that division or at least have a big storyline at the end of the year with the Bucks. Shout out Matt Jenkins, who just said go Tampa Bay Bucks in the Instagram Live. Do you guys agree? Is this one we're going opposite on? I like the Falcons at home against the Chargers.
I don't really know what I like, honestly. I've been debating this one. I think it's actually going to be a great game. Two offenses that can score points. Chargers with no J.K. Dobbins after a tough loss last week. I hate being on the same side as you, Jaws. I'm not going to lie, but I'm gonna stick with the Falcons as dogs at home. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm staying away. I'm not touching this game. The only thing I like, if you're on Hard Rock and you want to throw in some receiving yards parlays, I think Drake London and Ladd McConkey both go over 50. They're both like around -200, -225. If you can get both of them to go over 50 yards at -115, and I think that's a good bet. I'm staying away from the game. I don't like this game at all.
Doing more is like if you want to find the straight bets, it's like just find a pretty easy parlay of props and do that, because I mean it's a lot less diluted than your main money market lines as far as public betting and whatnot. So maybe that's a strat today. I like that. I like that, Jared.
Speaking of games I'm staying away from, I'm staying as far away from the Jets Seahawks game as possible.
Yeah, no, that one I don't have Mike, we still have to pick it though. I hate this game.
I think it's
Give me
gonna
the
be snooze
Seahawks.
fest.
Puke.
Yeah, I like the under. I like the snooze fest. I like the Seahawks. I actually don't like the Seahawks, but I hate the Jets. I'm out on the Jets. Just fucking kill them already. Don't even give them hope. Like these Jets fans that still think they're alive, go fuck yourselves.
I think it's a sneaky spot for the Jets in this game, but I don't want to bet on the Jets. And also, I want to root more so as a fan that the Seahawks kind of put a staple into the NFC West, and the Niners don't have a chance to come back at all. But for that reason alone, it kind of makes me want to take the Jets because I just think it's going to come down to the wire in that division. But I'll also take the Seahawks. Mike, we've picked 6 games and they've all been the same picks, which I don't think we've done all year.
I'm staying away, and I lean Jets.
I also kind of lean Jets. Feels like
How about our little frisky DC in my backyard, Titans at Commanders?
Yeah, Titans at Commanders.
This is my lock of the week.
Washington -6. Oh, Jared, you're taking the Titans, aren't you?
This is my lock of the week. I love the Titans here. I love them. Will Levis is playing good football. If he holds on to the ball, listen to this. Last 3 games, 748 yards, 5 touchdowns. 3 games.
I know.
Jaden Daniels, bad. And maybe I'm biased because I have 2 futures on Bo Nix to win Rookie of the Year, which I know you guys do too. And I'm rooting on the Commanders' downfall. I think they're bad. These are 2 teams going in opposite directions. I think Tony Pollard is good. I think Will Levis is going to make some magic. This is my lock of the week. I think they're going to win straight up. I think their value at plus 210 is good. I think 6 is too many points. If you want to buy another half point to get to 6.5, I love it. Jaden Daniels is lucky. If they don't have that Hail Mary, they're 6-6. They've lost 3 in a row. He does not look that good. I don't know what his passing yards odds is, but I might even take the under. I think he's not good, and I think he had too much hype in the beginning of the year. And I love the Titans here. I think they win outright, but they definitely cover.
+6, Jared's lock of the week, and I love it. I'm gonna ride that with you. It's not my lock of the week, but I've said this about the Commanders, like they're just kind of steadily going down. I don't think they deserve to have a spread that's 6 points, and I think we saw that when they played the Cowboys, and that spread was 10 points. Like, no part of me in the world was ever going to bet them to cover that many points because, well, Jaden slowed down, right? And I think he's playing a little bit injured, and it's just not their year. It never was going to be their year, but they were frisky and they had a lot of eyeballs turned to them in the beginning of the year. I did officially cash out on my Jaden Daniels MVP bet. I got a nice little return there, but that was never going to hit. Would have been cool if it did. But yeah, Jared, I like it, man. I'm going to take the 6 points here. I don't know if they win the game. I think, if anything, the Commanders win, but the Titans cover just to kind of help out with the storyline as far as the Commanders making the playoffs in that 7th seed. So, but yeah, lock of the week. That is a typical Jaron Weidgard bet right there. It is take the spread that a lot of people aren't going to take, but probably makes a lot of sense. I like
as long as Will Levis doesn't make a stupid backwards throw or whatever, which he easily could. I think they cover this game easily, and I think they'll cover the entire game.
Yeah,
I love it.
Question from the crowd, Frank Godbold, shout out. Does Gus Bus get in the end zone today, or is it a Ladd McConkey type tag?
Chargers at Falcons.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey has not been getting in the end zone, and the Chargers run the shit out of the ball. I like that pick, Frankie. I will hop on the Gus Bus.
Mike likes the Gus Bus, Frankie.
Save me a seat.
So do I. That over-under is 47.5. Something tells me that game's
someone needs to score.
Scoring, yeah.
Plus 125, not my favorite. I think someone like Quentin Johnson has better value at plus 220. But I don't hate Gus there at all.
He's the guy the rest of the season now. I hope you have him on your fantasy team there, Frank. And then Chris said Will Levis meme run continues today. We'll see, Jared. You do realize you're putting your lock of the week in the hands of Will Levis, right?
Yeah. SEC.
Hey, football starts in a bit. Let's I don't have anything else from the 1 p.m. slate.
Patriots money line. Patriots at home against the Colts.
I'm with that too.
Patriots money line.
I'm on that as well.
I'm taking Colts. I'm
with that.
Oh, you're a loser. Good. Let's go. 1 point, Mike.
Drake May looks good.
Game of the week. What a fucking game. I mean, just juggernaut spot. So
I
many
already
stories.
know.
The Eagles are visiting Baltimore. The Eagles don't have to take a plane ride the rest of the season, especially if they get the 1 seed. They're heading down 95 to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are 3-point favorites against a 9-2 Eagles team that is just guns a-blazing. Don't think they're going to slow down. I will check on the availability of Devontae Smith today. I know that was a big storyline coming in.
As you're checking, I'm gonna just pop in here real quick. My pick, Ravens -3. Wasn't sure if you saw that one coming.
Didn't see that.
There's one factor here, and you're gonna hate it because you're gonna make this game all about the Eagles. I'm gonna make this game all about Lamar Jackson and the fact that he doesn't lose to the NFC. And I think that trend keeps on going. I think people forget that, and it gets lost in all of these narratives of an incredible football game. Baltimore Ravens at home. Lamar Jackson doesn't lose to the NFC. Don't see it changing today. Bang.
You realize Jalen Hurts is kind of like the same thing against the AFC, right? He's only lost like one game or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to stat check that because I don't see that get posted on my Instagram every week.
That's the thing. Thanks, Frank. That's the thing about the Eagles. It's like, why does nobody want to talk about us like they do about the Lions? Why does nobody want to talk about that Jalen Hurts has a similar record against the AFC? Sorry, I'll get to my full take here in a sec. But, no surprise there. Mike has taken the Ravens +3. Jared, I'd love to get your unbiased take. I know you're more of a college guy versus NFL, but here's how I see this, just from a line perspective, completely unbiased, is we're week 13 of the NFL, and Vegas is still giving us juice on everything Eagles. And I think we're only going to have that for a couple more weeks, especially if they win today. So do you see that too? Where are you leaning in this game?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to bet the game. I think if the line was +3 Ravens, I would take the Ravens. But because it's plus, I think whichever team was underdog, I was taking the points. I think there's value there. I don't know if that made any sense. But I lean Eagles. I think any points is too many points in this game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I could even go far enough to say, now that I'm talking myself into it and looking a little bit more, I think this is the game where we're really going to be talking about, can Saquon win the MVP after this game? I think maybe Lamar might have a shitter. I think Saquon will run for 900 yards again. And, if Josh Allen loses that game tonight, Saquon might be the front runner at the end of this week.
Well, and that's probably the biggest storyline out of this game. It's the Derrick Henry versus Saquon matchup, right? I mean, just what a great game just from a matchup standpoint, because you got your two mobile quarterbacks that can make plays on third down in Lamar and Jalen, and then you got your two best running backs in the NFL, I think, this year, in Derrick Henry and Saquon. And Saquon just went from 60-1 before that Rams game to like 4.5 to 1 for MVP, which is just unbelievable, and as he should be, right? So just from an MVP storyline standpoint, from a obviously playoff seeding standpoint, the Ravens, if they lose this game, tough game, obviously, they're 8-5, right? And I like the script today as this: the Bengals beat the Steelers, the Ravens lose to the Eagles, the Bengals are all the way back into it. Maybe the Broncos even lose, right? So I think we're going to see a little bit of just kind of condensement of the playoff picture, into which we're going to have a lot more storylines. I'll go into my big Eagles take in a sec, but did you guys have anything else? Just initial thoughts?
I lean Eagles. I like the Eagles. I also like Saquon over receiving yards, whatever that is. I think it's like 19 or something.
Nice.
I think that's a good bet.
I like AJ.
I still like it.
Devontae Smith is questionable. I'm sure we'll hear in a couple minutes if he's playing, but either way, that's kind of why I took the AJ 2 touchdowns. The Ravens have I think the 30th best passing defense in the league. Their run defense is one of the best in the league, as is the Eagles. So that, I mean, this just from a running back standpoint, it's like they're both going against really stout run defenses, and it's like, which one of you is going to overcome that? And I'm going to bet Saquon Barkley, just because I think he has the ability to kind of overcome those big run defenses more so than Derrick Henry, if that makes sense almost. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. Like, he's running through the tackles. If the holes aren't there, the holes aren't there, right?
I just hope we get a great game
Me
because
too,
there's a lot
man.
of storylines. It's a nice 4 o'clock game. A
Good
lot of
game.
these recent big games that have been hyped up have lived up to the expectations, and we've had a lot of great games. We've also had a few stinkers where one team blows the other one out. I don't see that being the case, but I could see a version of this game where it's like a sloppy 20-17 and all both teams do is run the ball and it's kind of boring. I hope there's fireworks and it's crazy and they're just back and forth throwing haymakers. And I think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get a really great football game.
Okay. Well, here we are. It's week 13 of the NFL season, and the Philadelphia Eagles are 9-2, and they have their biggest game of the season so far against the Ravens. And I think it'll be a tough game. I, however, don't agree with this line. I just don't think the Eagles should be underdogs in any game. I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's at away. Michael, stop shaking your head. I mean, did you watch the Rams game? Just us absolutely obliterate them with no chance of coming back whatsoever. I mean, that's the thing you just have to realize is it's no longer luck. It's no longer, these one or two plays that make them better. It's no longer Nick Sirianni made these mistakes that makes it a closer football game. They're winning these games. They're winning them convincingly, and they're doing it because they're just the better team on the field. It's just not even close. And guess what, Jared? You'll like this. Vegas hasn't recognized that yet. And that's why I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry. I'm taking the Eagles as my lock of the week again. I'll take the +3, make it a push if they lose by a field goal. But I'm operating under the assumption that I'm ahead of the curve as far as Vegas, as far as the networks talking about the Eagles. I think this team is the best Eagles team I've ever watched. I think they can have an elite defense, and it's as simple as the defense is elite and the offense will eventually score points. Maybe it's right off the get-go and they'll blow a team out like they did with the Rams, or maybe they keep it close. And have you not recognized the formula this year, Mike? How it's like, even with the Cowboys game, it's like the Eagles will come out a little bit slow, and they clearly aren't the better team at the beginning of the half. Great timing with Jake Weiner joining our live. But yet it's a tie game at halftime, and then just all of a sudden in the second half they explode. Right? That seems to be a similar formula I'm seeing this year, and I expect something similar today, in which you say, oh yeah, Ravens, clearly the better team first half. Derrick Henry maybe has a couple big rushes. Lamar makes some plays. But sure enough, it's only a 13-10 game at halftime, and then the Eagles end up winning, 27-16, right? That's what I see. I've seen it every game this year. I'm very high on the Eagles, and I won't go into my big, broad picture as far as what I expect yet, since we're kind of limited on time here, guys. I know you want to watch the games, but I'm 100% confident in this Eagles team. They are incredible. It's the best team I've ever watched as an Eagles fan. Jake Weiner, do you agree? Best Eagles team you've ever watched? And I'll pass it off to you, Mike.
I'm glad you got that off your chest. It seems like you need to prove something to me or the audience or to other people. I don't know what you proved there. I don't know what that meant. It's sort of the same thing you've been harping on. Yeah, I just don't want to hear it because you didn't give anything new or special, or it's just the Eagles are really good and we start off slow because we forget how to play football for 15 minutes and then we beat you in the second half because we run in the trenches and we have super cool rookie cornerbacks and I hope you guys get fucking smoked.
I have been so light. I could have been way worse this season with the Eagles, and I've been, I think, a little bit light. Just because, Michael, you see it. Why is nobody talking about this team like the Lions? People still are circling in the Lions. Even you just now saying they're the only team that can beat the Chiefs after what you just watched on Thursday. Where is this coming from? It's coming from a completely unbiased perspective. People still want to take in the claps from last year. Guess what? This team is completely different. This team has different vibes around it. And obviously a lot of that starts with Saquon Barkley. And just to chime in here real quick, Jared, to your point, Jake Weiner said the 17.5 receiving yards line is criminal for Saquon. So you've got a supporter there. But I mean, yeah, just what a game in general, right? And I think you said it best, Mike. I hope this is a shootout and something that we can talk about when we do the pod next week.
I'll
Yeah,
give
if
my
we had
take
more
really
time.
quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll give my take really quickly on this Chiefs Super Bowl thing because I wasn't on at that time. I don't know. I'm still on the Chiefs train. I don't know, until someone beats them and shows me they could win in the fourth quarter with the refs against them and, against Patrick Mahomes. Oh, if you give him 15 seconds, that's too much time. Um, I am considering still taking a future on them after this week, because I don't think there's a team that is, I think the Lions are good, but maybe same thing with, SMU. I don't know if I could ever see the Lions be good.
Yeah,
I like
I
the
think.
Eagles. I do like the Eagles. I don't know what the
Yeah,
odds are there, but I think that I've been pretty good on my futures the past couple of years with the Super Bowl. I think until someone could show me that they could beat the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, I don't care if they're winning every game by a field goal. They're still winning the game. So, and that's all you need to do in the Super Bowl. I don't care if you cover. I just want you to win. And I think that there's still going to be value there with all this hype in the Lions, and I think that I might take it.
I'm laughing what Wiener said. He said, I didn't take time out of my day to hear what Weingart has to say. So you got a nice That's great. A big thing to follow with this Eagles Lions, and I've been building up a lot of this season as it's going to be a collision course between the Eagles Lions and the NFC Championship game. I even bought a flight down to Arizona to see my buddy Gavin, who Mike we will have on the podcast soon. He's a diehard Michigan fan, Lions fan, which you don't see a lot of. And I think I texted him 31 times this week about how the Eagles are just going to gut this Lions team. But a big thing to track is the 1 seed, because if the Lions are on turf in Detroit and the Eagles visit, I think there's a bit of an advantage there. I think if this game is in Philly on grass under the lights in Link, it's a clear-cut advantage to the Eagles, and I'll still take them at plus money if Vegas gives me the chance in that situation. Cool. Let's just run through the rest. The other 205 games is Rams at Saints, and this feels like a toss-up. Mike, I think you mentioned you liked the Saints in this spot, but I'm going to roll with the Rams here. I think this line is a little bit low because of what you saw last week against the Eagles. I don't think that's indicative of the Rams. I think they're a good team, and they're going to rack up some wins against bad teams to end the year and be in that NFC West conversation. So give me the Rams minus 2.5 today.
I'm going to stick with the dogs. I've picked a lot of dogs. I like a lot of dogs. I'm going to take the Saints at home. I don't think the Rams are that good. I think they put it together some weeks and they don't put it together other weeks. The Rams will either win this game by 25 or they'll lose outright. And I'll take the Saints getting points.
I'm staying away, but I lean Rams. I don't think the Saints are good.
Responsible gambler over here.
He's made big strides. He's responsible now.
Buccaneers at Panthers. Bucks minus 6.5. The first thing that I thought of was that Dave Canales was their offensive coordinator before coming to Carolina. I don't know if they've played already this year. I kind of just want to take, divisional game. I know the Bucks are getting their guys back and they should really win these games by a lot.
If it makes it easier or more difficult for you, I am all over the Buccaneers. This line should be way longer. It doesn't matter that it's in Carolina. The Panthers have played some decent football recently. They kept it close against the Chiefs last week, and the Bucks are on the downslope, getting people back. The Bucks take care of business. It's a fucking murder.
I wanted to take the Panthers, but I just envisioned myself taking the Panthers and being like, why did I do that? So I'll take the Bucks too. Like I said, they're getting their guys back, and this is the time of year when the better teams will win by a lot. However, it is a divisional game, in which case they can sometimes be close and weird, and I think that's the only way the Panthers cover this. But I'm much more comfortable taking the Buccaneers to win by a lot here.
I like Mike Evans over receiving yards and anytime touchdown, and I also like the Bucks.
Sweet. And we have time to get that bet in since the 1 p.m. games just started. All right. Well, last game, right? We do have a Monday night game this week, but it's 49ers at Bills, and I think we already all said that we like the Bills in the spot.
Yep. My lock of the week as well.
Okay. Cool. And then the Monday night game was Browns at Broncos. Sneaky. Should I get a ticket to this game? Maybe. That'd be cool.
You should watch our Bo Nix tickets cash in person after the Commanders lose and Bo Nix wins tomorrow night.
Yeah, so that's maybe the thing we need to reiterate. Like the first podcast episode we had of the Why Not Us podcast, I literally led with Bo Nix, and that is coming to full tuition. So shout out myself, but shout out you too, Jared. You were on that, and Mike, you've hopped on the Bo Nix train as well. now everyone's hopped on the Bo Nix train, and we just get to be the ball knowers in the left corner over here. But man, what a cool storyline they get. I mean, this Broncos fan base that I've been surrounded by the past decade plus of my life is just ecstatic because they've been through hell with quarterbacks since Peyton Manning, and they absolutely have their guy. And it was so easy to look at the dynamic he'd have just from what you knew about Bo Nix coming out of college as this, good decisions, little bit mobile. That was such an easy Drew Brees comparison, and Sean Payton's already dealt with both of them, and it's just it's played out exactly how you'd expect if you took that stance. The line in this game is -6, and the Browns can be frisky, but I'll still ride this Broncos train. I love a lot of what's going on in Denver. However, I do think this is a good spot for the Browns, especially if you want to make this AFC picture a little bit more intriguing with the Bengals. But I just got to ride with the Broncos in the spot. Monday Night Football, decent game. Not great, though.
I love the Broncos. I love Bo Nix. I want to bet on the Broncos because I want to root for them when I watch this football game. But 6 points is a lot, and the Browns are weird. The Browns, even more than like the Saints or the Panthers or anyone else, in a gambling perspective, I can't figure them out. And Jameis Winston confuses me even more. I think I've gotten Jameis Winston wrong in every single game he's played. I've picked him when he's shot the bed, and I've faded him when he's won games. I don't know what to do, but I don't want to be on the side of taking Jameis Winston and then he has a shitter. So I'm going to stick with the Broncos where I feel more comfortable, and I'll probably lose.
Full Bo Nix fan now. I'm rooting for him. I got plus 1,200 and double down at plus 600, and I still think there's value at even money or whatever he's at. Meanwhile, Brian Robinson just scored a 50-yard touchdown against the Titans, so that sucks.
We got to watch.
I love the Broncos. I'm going to bet them. I can go and alternate line 9.5, probably at plus 165 or whatever it's at. I think
there's a chance they just blow out. Yeah, there is a chance they just roll, and Jameis is terrible.
And then they're going to lose or win by 20, and I think they're going to win by 20.
The Broncos defense is good, and they could get a few interceptions off Jameis Winston in this game and get a blowout. But cool.
Love it.
I don't have much else. I want to go watch football. I'm sure you guys do as well. But Jared, absolute pleasure having you on the Why Not Us podcast. I can't imagine it'll be the last time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll be back anytime. I love talking football with you guys.
Sounds great. Man, yeah, maybe it's close to the college football playoffs because, I mean, just so many storylines there. And just shout out college football this year. I think there's a big argument to be had that they've, me and Mike have always been NFL guys, but I've really, really enjoyed watching college football this year.
It's been awesome.
And NFL has been a lot. So I'll put it that way.
Nice.
Mike, anything else from you?
That's all. I don't have work on a Sunday, which is awesome. So I'm going to plop myself on the couch.
Miles either.
No miles, no work. Josh is coming back from Thanksgiving. Callie's coming over, making us dinner. All I got to do is sit on the couch and watch football.
What a life.
I think I can do that today.
What a great life. All right. Go Birds. And why the hell not us, boys?
Let's go win some bets today. Why not us?
Why not us?
Peace, y'all.
Bye, guys.